Hey guys, hey, I am working on a quick little drawing tutorial for you today, focusing on basic shapes to create form and 3D modeling and just get you used to recognizing and seeing all the things that happen when you have objects together, how shadows are cast, and all of that fun stuff. So let me get started on this. And I'm not ready. Hang on. I'm working with a subject matter right here. Let me get this going. I'm going to draw in very lightly, just some quick marks. They don't have to be accurate. And actually, in this case, it doesn't even have to be that true to the, I'm going to draw two parallel lines and kind of this odd shaped diamond right here. All right. So that is the top plane of a cube, and we'll pull that down. It's going to have a little crunchy edge right there. Pull this one down, pull it out, and this is going to be two parallel lines. The vanishing point so far off to the distance, it doesn't really matter. This one's a little steeper, but again, it's off there in the distance. And I can now get my ball just a little bit bigger. Alright, so we'll get that sphere started to bolt. And again, it's pretty messy, isn't it? So don't worry about that. You do not have to draw everything perfectly at this stage. Alright, and I'm going to throw another one in about like this, about like that. There we go. If I can get the angles just right. And then we'll drop this one down. Got this cube about ready to teeter off of this other cube. Alright, and again, just got to get those angles right. And if you noticed, I switched over to drawing more with the tip. I need to get a little more control. And that's exactly what I did. I'm going to flatten this out a little bit. I think flattening that out will make a little bit of difference. There we go. Look at that. I am using and changing and creating a different face to it just by... There we go. I got a quick sketch, very rough, lots of mistakes, but that's okay. If I can get anything through a student's head as we're doing this is at this stage, it's okay. The mistakes will help inform you how to make the correct mark. All right. So we have it all blocked out with line and tone, and we can really kind of come in and start adding the values. So we have some shadows that are going to come across over here onto the back edge of that cube there. This whole plane right here is going to be dark, and if you notice, I'm making the marks in the direction of this plane. All right, and this plane here is also casting a shadow onto the back side of this cube on that top surface. All right. This side is going to be a similar tone, but it's a little different angle, so it's going to have a slightly different tone, and I just shifted and changed up to a vertical mark on that one. I always try to kind of work with my mark making to help define the forms. All right, and then we have a shadow coming right off. I'm going to say right there where that little overhang is, I'm going to just drop it down and then bend it back up. Now this is not accurate to the photographs, and I'm making some adjustments on the fly because I am not measuring and trying to be 100% accurate to this photograph that I'm working from. All right, so we're already blocking in and starting to get a sense of three-dimensional form right there. Plus, this little cube is casting a shadow. And we'll throw that out there. And anything on the floor, I'll shift to kind of a mark that makes it look like it's on a flat surface. All right. So we have all sorts of marks here. I haven't even done anything with the sphere yet. So we'll start blocking in, and they're all about the same tone. They're all kind of a whitish gray, very light gray. So, and if you have looked around on the web, you know that spheres have this overall tone right? And then there's the shadow that starts to wrap around. You get this C shape, but that C shape doesn't go to the edge. It kind of stays away from it. That's kind of reflected light that's happening over here on the edge, especially when it's down towards the surface that it's sitting on. All right, so we'll just keep building up tone, and we have a nice looking little scene starting to come together. And if you want to make something look light, put something dark against it. So I'm going to put a little more tone out here against the background, in the background, so that this side of the drawing will appear light. All right. Again, this is all value. We're just trying to create a sense of modeling and tone, lights and darks. And I don't want to be too predictable, so I'm going to try to make my tone that I'm putting out in the background a little more irregular. All right, there we go. I'll throw a little bit over here. It's a little lighter here. All right, so we're getting a pretty good looking little blocked in drawing right from the start. I think I have this angle right here on this cube here. I'm going to fix a mistake right now. It's too steep, so I'm going to drop it out. I'm going to pull it over like this, make it a little flatter. Okay, there we go. There we go. Now we're talking. I'm going to intensify this one just a little better. There we go. All right, now what we can start doing is really start structuring and adding some detail, textures, and all sorts of fun stuff in here, and really start pulling this little sketch together. And that's all this is. We're just studying light, shadows, shapes, forms, trying to create 3 dimensions and see if we can do it all with a pencil. And, you know, drawing a light object with black doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's what we're doing. We're going to kind of create that chiseled out edge right there. I'm going to make an irregular edge. It's kind of looks like a little concrete cube, so it's got this irregular edge. Okay, and then we got the edge of this underneath, and it's really catching the light, and it's really dark right under that corner. Feathers out to the shadow, and actually there's 2 light sources in here, so there's kind of like an echo shadow right there. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing right up in here. I'm going to just kind of create a irregular edge, broken line, broken edge, and continuous line there. That's what I was trying to say. There we go. Nice dark edge right in here. And if you notice, I'm not erasing. Yeah, there's mistakes there, but I'm not going to erase it. It's going to be integrated into the drawing as we go. Switching my grip to the underhand, getting a little darker right along this bottom edge of the cube. Right in there. Whenever you have 2 shapes of the same tone that meet, the line disappears. That's called a lost edge, and that's what's happening right there. And I'm going to intensify it because you can see the edge right up towards the front of it. And right up here where the plane changes, it's always right a little darker right along that edge, right along this edge, and we'll feather it out. I'm making irregular marks. I don't want uniformity. I want some textures in here, so I'm going to put a little more pressure down. We're creating the texture on the surface of that cube there. Then I'm going to come back, switch my grip, coming back. I'm going to draw and get some really dense line in here, right down there to that transition to the shadow. Okay, and I'll just kind of throw in some textures throw a little darker right along here. It's really dark right here. There we go. So same drill over here. Right there, it's going to be very dark. Right on the underneath side, it's going to carry right over into the shadow. And it's light right there. It's kind of a broken spot right there. I'll just pull it on up. We'll get that kink out of the side of it. There we go. Same drill up here. We'll just get a kind of an irregular, broken, crunchy edge. Not a sharp corner or rounded corner there. And then we're going to come in and throw that tone in. And now this mark is in a diagonal, and it's kind of creating a crosshatch effect. With the tone underneath. It's a very similar tone to the tone here. Again, we can just keep building up the tone. Alright, and then this one also has like big chunks and holes in it. We'll do a little texture work. And then right there on that transition edge, it's going to be dark. We'll catch that nice little broken corner. And I'm going to come right along, and it's just darker right above that transition. Right like that. Alright. And this corner is a little darker. Again, switch back over. I'm working with tone to create that. Okay. And I'll throw a little more detail on the inside of that. And this is a nice lighter version of it with crunch and breaks and a rounded corner. Right like that. In the background. There we go. I don't think that, I think I've drawn it to where that cube in theory shouldn't even be balancing there. Alright, so these lines should be parallel, roughly parallel, or converging towards a vanishing point. Okay, I'm going to do this side. Now this top plane is a little darker right up in here. A little more tone right there. And then this one is going to have some tone as well. Alright, maybe if you want, you can smudge and then get the right angle. This line is parallel to this one. There we go. So when you're getting started drawing, doing basic shapes like this, trying to learn to control value, letting value create a sense of how light or dark your objects are. There we go. And then get some value on this plane. It's lighter. Doesn't have to do much. Might throw just little irregular marks just for some texture in here. Okay. Alright, and I think we've dealt with the cubes. Let's go after the sphere. And I'm going to make some structural marks. So I'm going to make short, angular, bending type marks. I'm not trying to draw the outer edge of this sphere in one continuous line. I'm going to structurally construct it with these structural marks. So you don't have to draw a circle, you have to draw what looks like a circle. And then I'm going to use the background to define this highlight edge. So I'm going to turn that line into tone so that the transition from dark to light is what defines the lighter side of this sphere. So it's very dark over here on the back side of this sphere, right up to this point, right up in here. I'm going to come in and it starts transitioning into that half moon shape. We have that reflected light over here. I'm going to throw some of that shadow. I'm going to flatten the marks out because it's on the surface of the cube. All right, and I'm going to just keep working. And these are line value marks and intensifying. There we go. All right, so we're just adding in lots of tone in there to get a nice sense of value, 3D modeling. There we go. We'll throw a little more over here. Again, trying to keep it as irregular. You don't want to create halos, and you want a shape that will counterbalance maybe the subject matter as well. So just throwing that in there like that. So there we go. We have our sphere, and we got enough tone in it right now. I have enough tone in it right now, especially for the sphere. God, this one sucks. All right, I got all sorts of tone. Look at that. Isn't that working? That's looking pretty good. All right, that I can even come in and pick a highlight with a kneaded eraser. So that highlight's going to be happening right about right in here. And we'll just lift out all of that tone right there. And there's a really hot highlight right on that reflected edge underneath. Right there. And if I'm lifting up some of the tone on the shadow, I'll just come back in. And we'll add it back in right there. And really go after the shadow. Core of the shadow right there. Goes right up to the top. Like that. So there we go. We have some textures. We've created some cubes, an off-balance cube. We have shadows coming off of it. And all of that to make it appear three-dimensional. And drawing it with flair. Let's get that. I don't have that quite right. There we go. That's better. I'm going to get this one down here as well. We'll just throw out a line or two out here. All right, so there we go. There's drawing basic shapes. And you take these same principles that you're using to draw these basic shapes, the spheres, the cubes, the cones, all those things, and you apply that type of a modeling and an understanding of how light is striking a surface to create a more complex shape like a face. All right, that is drawing simple shapes with tone and line to create three-dimensional form. So in our next video, we'll see if we can maybe try applying that to a more complex thing like a face. So, hey, if you got any value out of this tutorial, please give me a like and a subscribe. And if you'd like to support this channel, head over to my Patreon page and give me a $5 membership. It'll go a long way to help me keep the lights on and the doors open on this channel. So I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.